Hey, welcome to Lunch with Lee. And today we're talking about something that is a little bit controversial. So, all my roofing friends are probably going to watch it. But should you use a roofer to fix your chimney? And this is not an always kind of situation because there are some roofers that can do this. But in general, and I think all my roofing friends will agree, roofers have not been trained on chimneys. And too many of them think that it's just simple. Every chimney cap is exactly the same. They're not used to bricks and mortar. And quite often they use tar. It's the same stuff they use to seal roofs, or they use silicone caulking in masonry brick, which causes a lot of heartache. And it temporarily may work for leaks. But in order to fix it long-term correct, that means all that stuff has to come out of the brick and mortar, and the brick and mortar is porous. So it's a huge issue. Sometimes causes us a lot more work. But in general, pick someone who specializes in fireplaces to work on fireplaces. Also, don't use companies like ours to install your roof. People are trained in what they're trained in, and that's what their experience is. But when they get too far out of what they specialize in, that's when you start to run into problems. When you have that person who does everything. They do roofs, they do plumbing, they do electrical, they do HVAC, heating and air conditioning. They do all that stuff. You got to be very, very careful because often they think they know everything. And then you figure out after a while that they know just enough to get them in trouble. So when it comes to chimneys, fireplaces, stuff like that, roofers should not touch what they don't know. And if you're not 100% sure, before you put that chimney cap on, do you know what type of fireplace it is? Do you know how the old cap worked? Do you know the condition of the fireplace underneath it? Because you can actually change the function of the fireplace underneath if you change the chimney cap on top. So they're not all the same, and the cheapest one is not the same. So if you have a chimney problem, call someone who specializes in chimneys and make sure they've been in business for a little while, figure out what training they have, make sure they know what they're talking about. And if they're offering warranties, who actually is that warranty through? Because often it's through the person you installed it with. And if they want to answer the phone, if they're not around, if they're only seasonal, we run into that in our business, that in the winter, sure, they're around, but in the summers, they're off doing something else that you can't get a hold of them. They're kind of a pain, or it's through one person and that person no longer does chimney work or has moved. You really need someone who actually has an actual company, who has workers' comp insurance. So if someone gets hurt on your job site, and this has nothing to do with roofers, because roofers quite often have their insurance. Although in the roofing trade, they often use subcontractors, which isn't necessarily bad, but you have to make sure you insure those people correctly. And quality control is through one person. Because one of the issues we have, and this has nothing to do with roofers, but if you buy products online and want us to install it, if that product does not work, we cannot warranty it. The company you bought it from warranties it. So that an online company, if like right now, sometimes people buy fireplaces, we install it perfectly. And by the way, quite honestly, when they buy the fireplace, they usually don't have the correct parts to install the whole thing. So we have to buy a bunch of stuff, but if it doesn't work, it's not our product. So now, in order to, you get a new one from maybe the online people if they can do that for you. And then you have to pay us to install the second one because we didn't do anything wrong in installing the first one. It's just the product that you purchased online doesn't work correctly. So note to self, fireplaces is its own specialty. Just like roofing, just like plumbing, just like electrical. If you have a fireplace, let a fireplace person fix it. And by the way, masons sometimes work on fireplaces and sometimes don't. So if you have a mason that says he works on fireplaces, is he doing it because he needs work and he knows brick, but he doesn't know fireplaces and chimneys because he thinks it's just simple? Or Do you need to find someone who actually knows fireplaces? And that's my opinion. I've been doing it long enough to know a whole lot about fireplaces and to see other contractors think it's really, really simple and then really, really mess it up. And then sometimes blame other people, other things. So when it comes to fireplaces, when it comes to chimneys, get a specialist, get us, get somebody else who's been trained, who knows exactly what they're talking about. That way you get your problem fixed the correct time, the first time. And if something goes wrong, you have someone to call and someone to come back and fix the issue. So I really appreciate today. Thank you. And we will see you again next week.